Oh, look at him. What a gentleman.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
Don't want to think about Gabriel.
I think I'll let him sleep. He's not going on the tour this morning anyway. Besides, he and Mosley had a few last night.
I should grab a little fingerprint thing down and
New email.
ooh, no. From RT Nakimura at AL.com to Grace.Nakimura. Ooh, this sounds like mom. Grace, your fellow had a wonderful idea. We're going to send you an early birthday present. Tickets to fly home. How does next month sound? I met the nicest boy at the Japanese Cultural Center. His name is Ryan Mikoshi. I'll give him your email. I hope you don't mind. Before you start, he's very nice looking and he's an electrical engineer. He works for IBM in Manhattan. I'm telling you, the girls at the center are quite interested, but I showed him your picture and told him all about you. You know I can make you sound good. Mrs. Willis's daughter is traveling in Europe for a year too. She's pretty but spoiled. Her parents are paying for this trip because she got accepted at Harvard Law School. But at least she's a good daughter. Damn, Mom! Now that we pay for this new email account every month, you can't write to your mother? Let me know right away about the trip. The second week of July works best because we have theater tickets before and after. We can drive over to Yale and look up some of your school friends. We talked to the nice Professor Barclay. Love, Mom.
No, thank you. Nah, I don't want to write anybody right now. I don't need to print it.
Hi, Grace. The name's Ryan Mikoshi. Your mother gave me your email address. She says you're taking a European sabbatical? Sounds great. I wish I could get away. I graduated with my MSE 2 years ago and went to work for IBM 2 weeks later. You know how school loans can be. Anyway, your mother says that you're coming home in a few weeks, so maybe we can get together. She made you sound pretty interesting. People think I'm interesting too. Boy.
I really don't want to get the guy's hopes up.
From C_llama at om.com. Dear Grace, of course you're welcome to join us anytime, even if your partner does not choose to do so. But a sense that you feel tied to your current situation, perhaps without a clear understanding why. Love and loyalty are precious gifts, but they must be free and open, not sources of resentment or restraint. Destiny can also be a heavy weight, and I sense your destiny is a deep one. Sometimes we must wait for the event in which we are to participate before we can move on. Let this thought give you patience. If you feel the path blocked beyond your ability to influence, you may need for fate to find a detour. Remember, we cannot control others. Our choices belong to each. I can feel it clearly and sweetly across the long miles. I know you will find your way. I only hope that our paths cross before we are both too old and wise to learn each other. Your friend, Shardrell.
I want to write back, but I need to think about what I'm going to say.
I don't know who this person is. I'm not sure it's related to any of the previous cases. At least it doesn't ring a bell. Let's see. What do I have in my inventory? Just my sketchbook, my passport, my wallet. That was email.
We don't have any files for this case yet, but as Gabriel and I find stuff, we can scan it in.
Well, we have nothing to analyze. Other than translate.
I don't have anything to scan yet, but Sydney can handle fingerprints, license plates, Gabriel's tapes, text, and visual images. Pretty cool.
This is called faking your ID, Grace. Certified encyclopedia seller. Yankee Doodle diaper specialist. Oh my god. Yeah. Let's get out. Oh.
Someone left a... Not a bad idea, but
Okay, first we pick it up then.
there's a poem in here. The arms of Jesus are the cross of Lorraine, both the blood in the arteries and the blood in the vein, both the source of grace and the clear fountain. The arms of Satan are the cross of Lorraine and the same artery and the same vein and the same blood and the troubled fountain. I think I'll leave the poem for Gabriel. The arms of Jesus are the...
Can I look at it? Gabriel, I found this poem and a copy of Secrets of the Holy Grail book outside our door. Oh, and if you're going to go sneaking around, don't forget the fingerprint. Grace.
No prints? That's a bummer.
That's a bad start to my fingerprinting career. Also, I always forget Alt. Control, not Control, is Shift is the angle. Okay. Oh.
I know this may sound weird, but have you noticed anything unusual lately?
Huh, how I wish. The days, they make up the life monotonous in a town so small as this.
Okay. Nobody over here. Here and
I can talk to them later on the tour. They're eating right now.
how about these two?
I can talk to...
Okay. I need to talk to you to ensure I get on the tour. Oh.
Hi, are you Madeline Bouthane?
I am.
I'm Grace Nakamura, a friend of Mosley's. I'd like to join your tour.
Haven't I already had this conversation? It was more interesting the first time.
You must be talking about Gabriel.
Yes, much more interesting.
You told him it would be 2,000 francs.
For him, for you, it is 3,000.
What?
The tour leaves at 9. If you decide to come along, bring a check.
Sure. Fine. Thank you so much.
Okay. Let's go explore stuff. By going to the tower.
Excuse me.
Oh, bonjour.
This place is open to the public, isn't it?
Of course, I was just taking my morning walk. The bird watching in this area is superb.
Oh? Yeah, the scenery's not bad either. Are you with the tour group?
No, I'm Abbé Arnaud, curator of the church. And yourself, mademoiselle?
Oh, I'm with the tour. That is, I will be after this morning. We're taking a tour of the valley.
Ah, quelle chance! I was just thinking that I would like to take a drive, but my car is a miserable beast.
Well, you'll have to ask Madeline Bouthane if you want to go with us. She's the tour group leader.
Ah, Miss Butane, of course. Yes, I believe she would make room for me. Thank you for the suggestion, Miss...
Nakamura.
Yes, thank you, Miss Nakimura. I hope to see you later.
Abbé Arnaud.
Okay. Also go to museum.
The museum is closed.
Oh man.
They close at 5.
When do they open though? They should be open, or they open at noon. Depends. Um. At the church, maybe. Ooh, we got some English pamphlets now.
That bit about the sunrise line is interesting. It's a pamphlet from St. Mary Magdalene's.
Okay, we're gonna have to read this ourselves, I see. Welcome to St. Mary Magdalene Church. By 1646, when a significant restoration was done to this building, the church has stood on the site for centuries. When Abbé Béranger Seigneur arrived in 1885, the church was once again in serious disrepair. During early labors, a discovery was made under the altar stone, a discovery which led to great wealth for the abbé. The story of Seigneur can be found at the Rennes-le-Château Museum and in many books. By the end of his life, Seigneur had restored his church in a colorful, expensive, and unorthodox manner of his own design. Some feel he may have hidden clues to the secret of his wealth in the church decorations. On July 22nd of each year, the feast day of St. Mary Magdalene, if one stands at the church at dawn and turns towards the Château de Blanchefort, the sun will rise directly over the ruins, forming a straight line of light between them. There are those who claim that the alignment and the consecration of the site and in others in the valley were planned long ago, perhaps even by the early Celtic inhabitants. The Devil and the Four Angels. The devil in the church draws as much attention as the other elements combined. What was Abbé Seigneur's purpose? Some have linked the devil to the demon Asmodeus, others to the Cathar idea of Rex Mundi, king of the world, sometime to the armchair of the devil nearby, still others to Satan himself, as the sign above proclaims, by this sign shall ye conquer him. Plotted on the four angels, par signe tu vaincras, can be translated as by this sign shall you conquer him/it, or by this sign shall you win him/it. The four angels themselves are a classic Catholic motif, showcasing the positions of the hands during genuflection, though some have argued that these angels might not refer to genuflection but to some secret direction or shape. Number 2, Saint Roch. This is this one. Saint Roch, along with Saint Germain, is one of 2 regional saints in the church. Roch was the son of a governor of Montpellier. He went to Rome and cared for plague victims, curing many miraculously. He was invoked against pestilence and plague and is the patron saint of invalids.
4 Magdalene statues with skulls. Wonder what that could mean. Maybe the town names are significant.
The Magdalene statue is depicted with a cross made of branches, the silver vase of healing balm with which she washed Jesus' feet, and a skull at the saint's feet. The oddity of the statue lies in its unusual juxtaposition of Magdalene and the skull, a relationship uncommon in religious art. Interestingly, there are 3 other Magdalene statues with skulls in 3 other churches in the area: Saint-Just-de-Bézieux, Bougarac, and Custosa. Number 4, St. Anthony of Padua. St. Anthony of Padua was a Franciscan monk who focused his ministry on heretics. The statue depicts the vision he had of the infant Christ. The lily represents purity. Keeping with his conversion of the heretics, he is patron saint of lost items. Number 5, St. Joseph and the Infant and the Virgin with Infants. Behind the altar can be seen the Holy Family, St. Joseph with the Infant and the Virgin with Infant. Some have speculated on the idea of there being 2 infants depicted between saints instead of 1. Number 6, St. Mary Magdalene altar. The altar repeats elements found in the Magdalene statue and adds new ones. The Magdalene appears to be in a cave. At her knees is a skull as she gazes fixedly upon a slight cross made from branches. And on this cross one can see a new living twig growing forth. This refers to the living option of Christianity or ? St. Anthony the Hermit, l'Ermite. St. Anthony with book and staff. St. Anthony, circa 468 AD, longed for a life of quiet meditation. But he was forced to move to ever more remote locales to escape his growing followers. He finally fled to Lerens goal, also in Languedoc. Well, I guess Laurent goal, also in Languedoc, and there he died. Number 8, Saint Germain. Germain is a local saint from Pibrac, France. Her stepmother starved her, beat her, and forced her to live with sheep. Despite this cruelty and increasing illness, Germain remained loving and prayerful. The statue depicts an incident in which Germain was caught by her stepmother smuggling something in her apron. Mother grabbed at the apron and found it contained flowers that was the dead of winter. Germain claimed that they were from God. She is a patron saint of abused children and poverty. Talk about depressing. Saint John the Baptist and Jesus. Jesus, as is being anointed by his cousin the Baptist, gazes placidly downward. Number 10, the Sermon on the Mount. Crowning the apse is the large bas-relief of the Beatitudes Sermon on the Mount. Many have pointed the incongruity of the bag of gold and the rose strewn on the hill. Number 11, the church floor. The black and white alternating squares of the church floor have been much debated. Some have linked the tiles to the heretical Catholic notion of duality. If Seigneur would have been familiar with Catholic beliefs, there is no reason to assume he himself expounded them. Okay. Let's see if...
All this stuff is interesting, but
Magdalene, Saint Anthony of Padua, Lady, Joseph Infant, and Germain being beaten, Saint Meat,
Saint Anthony the Hermit.
and the Beatitude.
The pamphlet points out the roses and the bag of gold. I wonder if the roses could be a reference to Rosicrucian beliefs and the gold to the treasure. Okay, probably not.
Okay. I don't know if there's anything we can do in the Abbey's garden.
Maybe I should try walking.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not going to leave town on foot.
Nothing for me to see.
Gabriel rented it.
Okay. I'm gonna head back inside. Already spoke to Jean. Anybody here making calls? We can buy on. Not. Nope. Where's our 5? He's still sleeping. Let me search for skull. No, skulls. No. Okay, we're not supposed to be yet.
I don't have anything to scan yet.
Okay, never mind. Maybe we just forgot to actually buy the tickets from Madeline. I don't mean to go into the bathroom. Nothing for us here, right?
I can't see how he fits his hair products in there. His hairspray alone is twice that size.
Ooh, Sid Burn. From the proper door, I guess. Maybe knock on Moses' door?
think I'll wait until the tour. Maybe she'll be less bitchy when she's had her breakfast.
Oh, snap.
I can talk to them later.
Yeah, definitely something.
Grail is what Gabriel... That's the book I found.
Well, at least they supported local libraries. Brought it to us. Still closed. Damn it. What can we do with Grace? I've looked at the church. Nothing else in here.
According to the pamphlet, that's Rex Mundi, aka Asmodeus. Looks like something you'd see in a California incense shop.
Something here after the cat stuff. Oh, there he is.
Looks like
Probably.
he's enjoying the sun. Gabriel thinks Emilio's a suspect, but he looks harmless to me.
That's
Emilio Baza. I want to read it in the van. I wonder who could have left this for us.
Don't have hints, huh?
I wonder who...
Am I supposed to maybe pay for the ticket that I wasn't mentioned to?
I don't need to show her that.
What is this?
I got some Deutschmarks converted to francs at the airport. Not much to spend it on around here, though.
I cannot talk to Jean about anything.
I don't know what I'd say. It's Mosley's room. He's probably asleep. The Australian... I don't know... Hotel staff...
I feel like I'm supposed to be searching something in Sydney. That will help pass the time. Freemasons are one of the largest esoteric societies, rivaled only by the Rosicrucians. Prior to its popularity has been in development as a men's club, a place of privilege and fellowship. But the rites and history of Freemasonry remain enshrouded in the esoteric, rather modern, even naive, its adherents. Freemasons claim spiritual descendancy from Hiram Abiff, the architect of the Temple of Solomon. The legend goes that Hiram, an Egyptian, was a master mason. He and King Solomon himself were the only master masons of the project. Master masons supposedly knew secret mysteries involving numbers, measured geometry, and the magical formula hidden within the... 4 lower masons working on the temple began to envy and covet his knowledge. Instead of working to become master masons, they decided to steal the knowledge. Late one night, each of the four hid outside a different temple exit, northeast, south, and west. When Hiram emerged as out of the first exit, the lower mason demanded his secrets. Hiram refused and was dealt the death blow, but he survived and stumbled back into the temple. He tried to escape by another entrance and was once more stopped. When he refused the second mason, another lethal blow was struck, and once more he retreated. This happened 2 more times at the other 2 exits from the temple. Finally, Hiram succumbed and died. Vignettes from the story are still played out in Masonic lodges throughout the world. Death and resurrection of the candidate signifies their death in the old life and the start of their new life, the secret knowledge of the Mason. The theme of the architectural Masonry continues throughout the Freemason rites and symbols. Some scholars believe the Freemasons are descended from stonemasons, guilds of the Middle Ages. Freemasons themselves claim an older and more noble heritage, descendancy from the Knights Templar. This may have some legitimacy since Freemasonry was born in Scotland, till this group is Scottish Rite. The Templars did flee to Scotland during their prosecutions. Just the Chattanooga archives. The Knights Templar was a chivalrous order of the Middle Ages. The order began in 1118 during the Crusades, when Hugh de Payens and 8 companions made a sacred vow to protect pilgrims from attack while they journeyed into the King of Jerusalem granted knighthood to the order and gave them lodgings in the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which was built on the ancient site of the Temple of Solomon. The order grew in power and wealth as they began to be involved in a kind of banking system. In 1307, King Philip IV of France used fabricated charges of heresy against the order to seize their lands and wealth. To this trial, the order was abandoned and some Templars, such as the Grand Master Jacques de Molay, were executed. A number of modern esoteric groups, including the Freemasons, claim descent from the Knights Templar. How about Scottish Rite? Nope. How about Rosicrucians? Nope.
Crap. I hope the link comes up soon.
Okay. The legendary Temple Solomon, the legendary temple was built in Jerusalem around 950 BC at the initiation of King Solomon and remained the centerpiece of Jewish faith until it was destroyed by the Romans. It is said to be based on the Egyptian temple design, and this may be true, for the Bible readily admits that the chief architect was loaned to Solomon by the Egyptian pharaoh. The temple layout was given to Solomon by God, as related in 2 Chronicles, 3rd chapter. The length was 120 cubits and the width 30 cubits, thus giving it 4:1 long rectangular shape. See temple diagram. The temple has become a living symbol for several occult groups. The alchemist, being in a temple, represents a state of mind, a place of mystical reflection and knowledge. The Freemasons have adopted the temple as a keystone of their ritual, their philosophy, even the physical layout of their logic. The idea of rebuilding the Temple of Solomon has been a stated goal, with a full range of interpretation from spiritual to literal, of many ethnic, esoterical, and occult groups throughout the ages. The original Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem held the greatest treasures of the Jews, including the Ark of the Covenant, the Table of Moses, the famous 10-branch golden candelabra, secret records and writings of the Jews. Let's research Grail. Crack. Grail. Sacred Grail. Magdalene. Mary Magdalene was a follower of Jesus during his lifetime. She was the sister of Lazarus, whom Jesus raised from the dead, and Martha. According to St. Luke, she was a notorious sinner, and tradition has correctly woven that into her reputation for prostitution, though no direct reference to this is made in the New Testament. The most famous story involving Mary Magdalene is the tale of how she washed Jesus' feet with her tears, dried them with her hair, and anointed them with balm. For this, Jesus praised her love of God. Gospels also have Mary Magdalene present at Jesus' crucifixion and at the empty tomb when the angels announced his resurrection. After the crucifixion, it is said that Mary sailed to the shores of southern France. The body is believed to rest in it. Anything else from this?
I can't scan that into Sydney.
Useful. Let's see. I could try searching for Sonia. Probably not good. Or Blanchefort. Asmodeus, maybe? According to legend, Asmodeus was a demon whom Solomon tricked into guarding his temple. Such Asmodeus is not considered a guardian of lost or hidden treasure. He is also invoked by magicians for supernatural protection of place and objects. Yeah, this is very... I'm not sure I have much more to add to this. I hope this was enough to get stuff to move. We're still in here. Museum open yet?
The museum is closed.
Darn it. Okay. I unfortunately have no real idea of what to do now. Nothing we can really do in this area. Answer is still not available.
He's bird watching.
What am I missing? Stuff I need to search and... Boom, boom, boom. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Maybe I just need to... There is one thing that I should have probably searched that she should have reminded me to search for, which is vampires. Did not search for any of that. Search. Oh, yeah. Vampire. From Dracula. She seemed like a nightmare of Lucy as she lay there, the pointed teeth, the blood-stained, voluptuous mouth, which made one shudder to see, the whole carnal and unspirited appearance, seeming like a devilish mockery of Lucy's sweet purity. Van Helsing, with his usual methodicalness, began taking the various contents of his bag and placing them ready for use. First, he took out a soldering iron with some plumbing solder, then a small oil lamp, which gave out when lit in a corner of the tomb. Gas which burned at a fierce heat with blue flame. Then his operating knives, which he placed to hand, and last a round of wooden stake, some 2.5 to 3 inches thick and about 3 feet long. One end of it was hardened by charring it in the fire and was sharpened to a fine point. With the stake came a heavy hammer, which in households is used in a coal cellar for breaking the lumps. To me, a doctor's preparation for work of any kind are stimulating and bracing. The effect of these things on both Arthur and Quincy to cause them a sort of consternation. They both, however, kept their courage and remained silent and quiet. When all was ready, Van Helsing said, "Before we do anything, let me tell you this. It is out of the lore and experience of the ancients and of all those who study the powers of the undead. When they become such, there comes with a change the curse of immortality. Cannot die, but must go on age after age, adding new victims and multiplying the evils of the world. For all that die from the preying of the undead become themselves undead, prey on their kind. And so the circle goes on ever widening, like as the ripples from a stone thrown in the water. Friend Arthur, if you had met the kiss which you know of before poor Lucy died, or again, last night when you opened your arms to her, you would, in time, when you had died, have become Nosferatu, as they call it in Europe. You would for all time make more of those undeads that so have filled us with horror. The career of the so unhappy dear lady has but just begun. Those children whose blood she sucked are not as yet so much the worse, but if she leaves on undead, more and more they lose their blood, and by her power over them, they come to her. So she draws their blood with that so weak and mouth. But if she die in truth, then all cease. The tiny wounds of the thread disappear, and they go back to their play, unknowing ever of what has been. But the most blessed of all, when this now undead be made to rest as true dead, then the soul of the poor lady whom we love shall again be free. Instead of working wickedness by night and growing more debased and humiliating of it by day, she shall take her place with the other angels. So that, my friend, it will be a blessed hand for her that shall strike the blow that sets her free. To this I am willing. But is there none among us who has a better right? Will it be no joy to think of hereafter in the silence of the night, when sleep is not? It was my hand that had sent her to the stars. It was the hand of him that she loved her best, the hand that of all she would herself have chosen had it been her to choose. Tell me if there be such one among us. We all look at Arthur. He saw it too, what we all did. The infinite kindness which suggested that his should be the hand which would restore Lucy to us as a holy and not an unholy memory. He stepped forward and said bravely, though his hand trembled and his face was as pale as snow, "My true friend, from the bottom of my broken heart, I thank you. Tell me what I am to do, and I shall not falter." Van Helsing laid a hand on his shoulder and said, "Brave lad! A moment's courage, and it is done. The stake must be driven through her. It will be a fearful ordeal, but be not deceived in that. But it will be only a short time, and you will then rejoice more than your pain was great. From this grim tomb you will emerge as though you tread on air. But you must not falter when once you have begun. Only think that we, your true friends, are around you, and that we pray for you all the time. Go on," said Arthur hoarsely. "Tell me what I am to do." "Take the stake in your left hand, ready to place to the point over the heart, and the hammer in your right. Then when we begin our prayer for the dead, I shall read him. I have here the book, and the other shall follow. Strike in God's name, that so all may be well with the dead that we love, and that the undead pass away." Arthur took the stake and the hammer, and when once his mind was set on action, his hands never trembled nor ever quivered. But Helsing opened his missal and began to read, and Quincy and I followed as well as we could. Arthur placed the point over the heart, and as I looked I could see its dent in the whole white flesh. Then he struck with all his might. The thing in the coffin writhed, and a hideous, blood-curdling screech came from the opened red lips. The body shook and quivered and twisted in wild contortions. The sharp white teeth clamped together till the lips were cut, and the mouth was smeared with a crimson foam. But Arthur never faltered. He looked like a figure of Thor as his untrembling arm rose and fell, driving deeper and deeper the mercy-bearing stake, whilst the blood from the pierced heart welled and spurted around it. His face was set, and high duty seemed to shine through it. The sight of it gave us courage, so that our voices seemed to ring through the vault. And then the writhing and quivering in the body became less, and the teeth seemed to champ, and the face to quiver. Finally it lay still. Terrible task. So just to give a couple of notes, I read through Dracula. I don't think it's a great novel, but some bits like that one are good. 18th century vampire treatise translated from German. Vampirism is the act of stealing and drinking another's blood. There are creatures which drain psychic energy instead of blood, and one would argue that these creatures are vampires, but in occult circles such beings are referred to as succubi. For the purpose of this treatise, blood must be involved. Types of vampire. Types of vampire can be distinguished by their purpose in seeking the blood. There are three basic categories: vampires who use the blood for sustenance, vampires who use the blood to steal attributes, and vampires who use the blood to gain power over the host. For some creatures, blood is the only viable source of nutrition. Like mosquitoes or leeches, they survive off the blood of the living. All blood-drinking creatures are creatures of darkness. These include and monsters. Many traditional vampire cases in areas such as Hungary, Yugoslavia, and Transylvania can be regarded as demonic possession of the dead. Fortunately, this form of Sibyline entertainment seems to be dying out these days, perhaps because demons do not care for embalming fluid. When such possession occurs, living blood is required to not only nourish the demon, but to keep the corpse from decomposing. Monsters are the result of mixing human and demon blood. Such creatures are usually, but not necessarily, evil. Due to the usually paternal demon genetics, living blood is required to sustain life. The appearance of monstrosities is increasing. The earliest magical religions believed that by drinking the blood of a man or an animal, one took on the being's traits. Many primitives still drink the blood of the bear and lion for strength, or the Antiopian deer for swiftness. Similarly, some tribes ingest the remains of their dead in order to retain their skills or spirit for the tribe. Western magicians have been known to consume the blood of humans to steal the host's talents, wisdom, youth, or vitality. The hermetic principles behind this practice bear remarkable correspondence to modern DNA theory. See various vampires who use blood to gain power of their host. Blood is closely associated with a person's spirit or essence in many magical traditions. Because of this connection, some rituals involve stealing and using blood in a manner similar to the way that hair and nail clippings are used, i.e. to gain control over some. Let's go succubi first. Supernatural creatures who visit their victims through sexual dreams. Before Freud, disturbing sexual dreams were often thought to be the work of demons come to tempt devout Christian to sin. Bearer of such dreams were succubi and incubi, female and male demons respectively, who were sexually insatiable and would rape their victims via sexual dream while they slept. But as this might sound, it could be a terrifying experience for those who believe in such things. It was believed that a visit from a succubus or incubus would drain energy, even life from its. It was a very common form of demonic possession. From Diary English Adept, Rosenclimb. I have heard it whispered in the highest magical circles that a cult exists whose secrecy goes even beyond the impenetrable line. This cult practices black magic, and in particular a peculiar kind of. Thus have obscure but pernicious rumors surfaced about the existence of a blood cult, a group whose magic revolves around the properties of blood. Some rumors claim that this group is searching for immortality and/or had magical powers through the manipulation of blood by magic rite, interbreeding, even imbibing the blood of others with desired power of property. Elizabeth of Bathory is a historical figure that has been compared to Jack the Ripper and Dracula, no small feat. As with remaining beautiful, Elizabeth invents a unique anti-aging formula, bathing in the blood of a young virgin. She killed and tortured something like 600 girls according to trial records before she was finally arrested for her crimes. Her servants were burned at the stake for their part in the dire deeds, but Elizabeth was walled up alive in Bathory Castle. Immortality, or living forever, has been an age-old quest of mankind. Ever since man realized that he, like his father before him, would one day die, the quest to escape that sentence has been on, and has been fraught with desperation and little success. Many religions seek to assure their followers of life beyond death, that is, of the continuing life of the spirit, either through a destiny in heaven or hell, or through reincarnation back onto the earthly plane. The goal of many occult traditions has been to look for immortality in the here and now, not trusting in the promises of the spirit world. Alchemists sought to create the philosopher's stone in order to achieve immortality. Others sought the fountain of youth or the tree of life from the Garden of Eden. In the case of the latter two, it was said that a drink or a single fruit would produce immortality. The story of the Grail, the knight who protected the Grail was granted immortality as long as he remained in his presence. There are legends regarding immortals, men or women who have achieved immortality and who will continue to walk the earth long after their biological time has passed. Let's see one. Alchemy is an ancient art, especially practiced in the Middle Ages, primarily to discover a substance that would transmute common or base metals into gold and silver, and to find means of definitely prolonging human life. Even though its original purposes and techniques may have been doubtful or visionary, alchemy was the predecessor to modern. Ancient practice dates back to Egypt. Flourished in Alexandria at the same time a school of alchemy was developing in China. The early Greek philosophers wrote the first chemical theories. The theory advanced by Empedocles in the 5th century BC, that all things are composed of air, earth, fire, and water, greatly influenced alchemy. Roman emperors seem to have mixed feelings about the practice. Caligula is alleged to have ordered experiments performed attempting to produce gold from orpiment, sulfide of arsenic, while Diocletian is said to have ordered all Egyptians' works, turning silver and gold to be burned and all such experiments stopped. The fundamental basis on which alchemy rests is Aristotle's doctrine that all things tend to reach perfection. This led to the theory that the gold found deep within the earth would naturally be produced from perfect metals. The alchemist's hopes was to discover the secret of this natural process and duplicate it. Original attempts for achieving such a feat were both empirical and practical. Towards the 4th century, astrological and magical influences were becoming more dominant. True story, it is very easy to turn stuff into gold. You just need to start with things which have, a little larger atomic number from it. The platinum is actually the easiest thing to turn into gold, which is bad because platinum is worth a lot more. But in the 13th century, the practice of alchemy took on a religious fervor. Skilled alchemists not only went through a rigorous apprenticeship, but also solemn ceremony upon the completion of his training. The Sustaining influence of Platonic magic, astrology, mysticism, medicine, the esoteric doctrines of the Near East, Pythagoreanism, and Orphism, which were eventually embodied in alchemy. By their strict practices and their searches for the philosopher's stone, the true alchemists endeavored to refresh and restore the earth. Because of its spiritual aspect, alchemy is still valued by many today. 4. In alchemy, the square represents the quaternity and in general all 4-part concepts such as the 4 seasons, the 4 cardinal directions, and the 4 stages of May. The square itself is represented by the number 4. The sun and earthly, as stable as opposed to the more dynamic, fluid, heavenly form of the circle. While the square is represented as tilted, i.e. sitting on one point, its meaning changes drastically from that of the normal square. Whereas the square represents the concepts of the earthless, solidness, and permanence, the tilted square has a more dynamic, fluid meaning akin to that of the circle. The tilted square, like the circle, has been used as a symbol of the sun and light in general. Squaring the circle, like the philosopher's stone, was the alchemist's dream. In the geometrical representation of squaring the circle is placed so that the circle fits in maximally without breaking the square's boundary. Symbolically, it represents the union of heaven, the circle, and earth, the square, thus bringing opposites together in a united goal, creating a kind of transcendent or super consciousness. These aims and their representations with its particular symbols were the problems of mystics, alchemists, and Gnostics of the true story, you cannot square a circle. Cannot find a square that has the same area as any given circle. It's mathematically proven, and it has to do with kind of operations you can do if you just use ruler and compass versus what number pi represents. The circle is a symbol which represents a host of ideas, having perfection, infinity, and immortality, because it has no beginning and end. Oneness or unity, even fertility, because it is associated with the womb. In juxtaposition with the square, represents the fusing of heaven and earth. Because of symbolic richness, the circle has been an important element of religion, magic, and alchemy. The magic circle, for example, is often used for ritual purification or protection. Symbols that are sometimes used to represent the circle include the egg, unity, the pomegranate, fertility, and the infinity symbol, infinity. Okay, so question where Mystica sources. All Mystic articles read on this website www.themystica.com. I wonder if these are real citations. Wow. '24 and 25 would be. I mean, this to me looks like a real bibliography. So that's pretty cool. Let's click Pythagoras. A Greek philosopher of 6th century BC who founded the school and philosophical system, Pythagoreanism, named after him. Born on the Greek island of Samos, off the coast of Asia Minor, he migrated as an adult to the Greek city-state of Crotone, modern Crotone, in southern Italy about 530 BC. As a teacher and leader, Pythagoras possessed extraordinary charisma. In Crotone, he established a society of brotherhood of religious, ethical orientation. When it initiates the society fostered strong bonds of friendship and a feeling of elitism throughout ritual, esoteric symbolism, and a code of righteous self-control that included taboo. The base of his teaching was ethical, religious, and mystical. He believed in metempsychosis, the concept that the soul, both human and animal, passes from one body to another body. It's uncertain whether metempsychosis included the belief in immortality of the soul or not. However, the concept provided the rationale for many of the practices within society, which included vegetarianism and rituals of purification, were thought to promote superior reincarnation. The alchemist Pythagoras is regarded as the father of mysticism, a rule which scholars debate, and several key doctrines such as the squaring the circle are attributed. The image below is an example of Pythagorean geometry. Okay, so we can now click on Mysticism. Mysticism is the overwhelming feeling of sense of being in a complete unity or oneness with the deity or the cosmos. In the religious sense, it is the feeling of oneness with God. In paganism, it means the feeling of complete unity with the deity. Witchcraft is a feeling of unity with the goddess, god, or nature. It can also be a sense of mystical knowledge. Dionysius the Areopagite was the first to introduce the concept of unknown knowing into the Western world. In areas of the occult and psychic, it denotes an additional domain of esoteric knowledge and paranormal communication. Paganism is a general term which is usually understood as denoting any religious act, practice, or ceremony which is not Christian. Anyone practicing paganism is usually not a pagan. The word pagan comes from the Latin word paganus, which means country dweller. As Christianity grew, the term pagan took on a different definition and separate connotation. Gradually, a pagan referred to anyone not being a Christian, and paganism came to mean a non-Christian belief. The Christian church has vigorously attempted to eradicate it by implying that pagans are unsophisticated, uneducated, and worship false gods. Present-day pagans are neo-pagans, as some refers to themselves, find a union with the ecstatic and mysticism to the pre-Christian religions, which they find missing in the mainstream Western. Neo-paganism brings them closer to both nature and the divine force. Christian God seems to promote or alienate them. They see most Christians as viewing nature as just something to be exploited. Most pagans and neo-pagans view paganism as a religion chiefly worshipping the mother goddess, god, or nature. Religion also is polytheistic, having many deities in the pantheon. Some of these goddesses and gods are more than just deities and to represent archetypes of the class. The goddess. 1. Introduction and history. In neo-pagan witchcraft, the goddess is the very essence of central figure of the craft and worship. She is the great mother, representing the fertility which brings forth of life. Mother Nature, she is the living biosphere of both the planets and the force of the elements. She has roles of both creator and destroyer. She is the queen of heaven, and she is the moon. She possesses magical powers and is emotion, intuition, and psychic faculty. Divine force within the goddess is believed to be genderless, but within the universe is manifested as male and female principles. Often within the worship of the divine force, the goddess or the female principle is emphasized to the exclusion of the horned god or the male principle. But theoretically, both are recognized. The goddess has many facets, names, and aspects. Although in witchcraft and neo-paganism, she's mainly worshipped in her aspect triple goddess, virgin, mother, and crone. Goddess worship dates back to Paleolithic times. Many anthropologists speculate the first god or gods of the people were feminine. This coincides with ancient creation myths and beliefs that creation was achieved through self-fertilization. Within the concept of creation, the participation of the male principle was not known or recognized yet. The goddess was believed to have created the universe by herself alone. From this belief came the agricultural religions. It was thought that the gods only prospered by the beneficence and wisdom which the gods showered on them. Evidence appeared to indicate most ancient tribes and cultures were matriarchal. Although this may be true, there seems to be little evidence that the feminine portions of these societies held themselves superior over their male counterparts. Generally, goddess worship has been balanced by the honoring of both the male and female deities. This is illustrated by the belief in and the observance of the sacred marriage of the sky god and earth mother in many global societies. Among the first human images discovered are the Venus figures. Good female figures have exaggerated sexual parts that date back to the Cro-Magnons of the Upper Paleolithic period, 35,000 and 10,000 BC. In southern France is the Venus of Locelle, which is carved in a bas-relief in a rock shelter. This appears to once have been a hunting shrine which dates to around 19,000 BC. This carving, the woman is painted red, perhaps to suggest blood, and holds a bison horn in one. Also in Cro-Magnon cave paintings, women are depicted as giving birth. The naked goddess appeared to have been the patroness of the hunt, to mammoth hunters in the Pyrenees, also protectress of the hearth and lady of the wild things. Other female figurines were discovered dating back to the Proto-Neolithic period of approximately 9,000 to 7,000 BC, the Middle Neolithic period of 6,000 to 5,000 BC, and the Higher Neolithic period of 4,500 to 3,500 BC. Some of these figurines were decorated as if they had been objects of worship. Black Africa were discovered cave images of the Horn Goddess, later Isis, approximately 7,000 to 6,000 BC. Blood Goddess images appear to represent a bisexual self-fertilizing woman. During the pre-dynastic Egyptian period, prior to 3110 BC, the goddess was known as Ta-Udrit, Great One, and was portrayed as pregnant hippopotamus standing on her hind legs. The Halaf culture around the Tigris River, 5,000 to 4,000 BC, had goddesses figurines associated with a cow, serpent, humped ox, sheep, goat, pig, bull, dove, and double axe. These things were known to the people and became symbols representing the goddess. In the Sumerian Civilization, approximately 4000 BC, the princesses or queens of cities were associated with the goddess. The king was associated with God. Throughout the eons of history, the goddess assumed many aspects. She was seen as creatress, virgin, mother, destroyer, warrior, huntress, homemaker, wife, artist, jurist, healer, and sorcerer. Talk about multitasking. Her roles or abilities increased with the advancement of the cultures which worshipped her. She could represent the queen with a consort or lover. She might bear a son who died young or was sacrificed only to rise again, representing the annual birth, death, or birth cycle of seasons. Throughout the centuries, the goddess has acquired 1,000 names and 1,000 faces, but most always she has represented nature. She is associated with both the sun and the moon, the earth and the sky. The goddess religion, usually in all forms, is a nature religion. Those worshipping the goddess worship or care for nature too. It is acknowledged that author Barbara G. Walker made 2 comments concerning the 1,000 names of the goddess. The first is that every female divinity in the present encyclopedia may be correctly regarded as only another aspect of the core concept of the female supreme being. The author's other comment is, if such a system had been applied to the usual concept of God, giving him names and titles which people throughout the centuries have attributed to him, there would be now a multitude of separate gods with names like Almighty, Yahweh, Lord, Holy Ghost, Son of Righteousness, Christ, Creator, Lawgiver, Jehovah, Providence, Allah, Savior, Redeemer, Paraclete, Heavenly Father, and so on ad infinitum, each one assigned to a particular function in the world pantheon. Both comments may be considered correct when it is recognized that humankind is only able to speak of God, the supreme being, and gods in anthropomorphic terms. It has been noted as well that the human mind is unable to comprehend any godhead without the aid of anthropomorphism. But many people, such as Simon Magus, have gotten themselves in serious trouble when calling God by another name. Early church father Hippolytus condemned Simon for referring to God as the force. The beginning of the Hebrew religion, with its god Yahweh, is said to have marked the end of the goddess's golden age. Approximately this was between 1800 to 1500 BC when the prophet Abraham lived in Canaan. The Christian Church, and especially the Roman Catholic Church, has fought hard to suppress or root out all goddess worship. Goddess, along with all pagan deities, were labeled as evil, but little proof has been offered for this. One notable example is the Canon Episcopale. Though the Church attempted to completely abolish goddess worship, it never successfully did so. Remnants of it remain within the hearts of the people. An example of such devotion is seen within the actions of the people during the Church Council of Ephesus, 432 AD. Until Christianized, Ephesus has been a secret city where the Divine Mother was worshipped by all Asia and the world. Also in the city of Ephesus, as elsewhere, she was called Mother of Animals. Her most famous Ephesus image of the torso covered with breasts, showing her ability to nourish the whole world. During the Council of Bishops, people rioted in the streets demanding the worshipping of the gods be restored. The prime candidate was Mary, the Virgin and Mother of Christ. The bishop conceded so far in allowing Mary to be called the Mother of God, but then forbade her to be called Mother, Goddess, or Goddess. The very present many, both Catholics especially Protestants, wonder why Catholics have a great devotion towards the Virgin Mary. You know the occurrences at Ephesus, and that this devotion is probably the long surviving remnants of their early ancestors' devotion to the goddess. Whew! It's a rabbit hole, you know, we keep digging. Oh. Tell you what, I'll take another quick break because there's probably a lot more reading before I keep going. So let me just put you on to something else. Take a quick break, drink some water, stretch my legs, and then be back for some more reading.